Today I am making some succulent gardens. I am participating in a challenge. It is called Craft It 3 Ways, and the idea is to come up with 3 different designs for some new home decor. So I ordered some items from some succulents from Amazon, and so I brought them inside, and this is what they look like when they first arrive. They are not very pretty. They definitely get turned upside down in shipping, and so this is what they look like, but it's just like finding little treasure here. So I just tipped them upside down, and I just use this little paintbrush to kind of dust them off and get all of the leaves exposed. And so look, see, they just come out so nicely, and it's kind of fun just to see what they look like. This is an assortment. I got 20 different little plants here, and I think the cost was about $30 or so, or maybe a little less than that. I think I had an actual little coupon for this. So I have my 20 little plants out, and I always take them out and let them breathe for about a week or so that they can get some sunlight and some water. And so here they are. They're so stinking cute. And I always use my little handy dandy water bottle here that I also got from Amazon that does such a great job just when you just need to water a small little planter. This little watering bottle works so well. So here they are, and I think that's my favorite one. That's an Echeveria, and that has sort of a blue color. So for my first craft, I am using a yogurt container. This was going to go into the recycle bin, and I'm also going to use this plastic container that had some pasta in it, and I'm going to use these 2 items and kind of make them into a little 2-tiered planter. So the first thing I'm doing is just cutting the little edge off of this container, making sure that just that little lip there isn't there anymore. I just want a smooth surface. And so I'm just using a piece of cork to poke some holes in the bottom. Oh, and so if you are new here and you like this project and you might want to see more, think about subscribing. You just click the red button on the bottom on the right hand side, and if you also want to get notified for when I upload new videos, you can check the little bell to the right, and YouTube should send you an email whenever I upload a new video. So I use that piece of cork there just to poke some holes in the container for drainage, and now I am using some drop cloth. Just plain old painter's drop cloth. I got this at Lowe's a while ago, and I've also used this drop cloth. I also used it for a table runner, a couple of table runners. So I will put a link up to a video on the upper right hand corner if you want to check out that video. And today's challenge is hosted by According to Cat over at According to Cat, and also Casey from Coffee with My Sunshine. So check out in my description below the links to both of their channels. They are both extremely crafty and creative and come up with all kinds of ideas for DIY projects. I think it's such a great time to do home crafting and keep busy. I know this was a great project, kind of kept me busy for a couple of weeks here. While we are all in quarantine and staying inside, social distancing. So I'm using some Mod Podge, just a thin coat of Mod Podge to cover the container, and I just wrapped it around, and then also on the seam there, I just tucked it under, tacked in a little bit more of the Mod Podge just to kind of seal the edge. So also in my description below will be the link to this playlist, so you can visit that link and see what other people have come up given this challenge that you have to craft it 3 different ways, come up with 3 different ideas for a similar design. And then I'm just doing the same treatment for the pasta container there, just wrapping it around with the drop cloth and trimming it kind of to size. I just leave about an inch or inch and a half there, and then just fold that piece inside. A little more Mod Podge, and I just had to hold it there for a few seconds, and then it does start to stick. Oh, and here's a little trick. I used another yogurt container here just to kind of press it down and hold the piece while it just glued. Okay, and for my second piece, I'm going to use this Crystal Light container, just this plastic container. It used to have Crystal Light packages in it, and it comes apart really nicely, just peeled off the label there. And for this one, I am just going to put a couple of dots there just for a guide so that it can cut an opening there on the top. And I just kind of eyeballed it just so that it's sort of centered. The container had a natural little crease in the piece there, and then I just used my handy dandy X-Acto knife that I've used for so many projects over the years, and just scored the plastic and just kind of rounded the sides there, and yeah, just use those dots kind of as a guide so that it's centered, and just cut it out so it has like kind of a interesting little opening there. Covered this guy with a bunch of Mod Podge as well, and same thing, just covered it with another piece of drop cloth. Folded it like I'm wrapping a gift pretty much, and I kind of just tucked it under around the sides there, and tucked it around the back there as well. Trimmed off a little bit more there so that I don't have too much that I have to glue. And I think this will make a really interesting container. Little piece, little unusual cylinder shape for holding the succulents. So oh, and I also poked some holes in the bottom of this one as well. So I found that it's really important that that the succulents have drainage, and I only water them about once every 2 weeks or so. And I do water them. I water them really well, let them drain, and then I really let them dry out. So I think it's just easy to overwater succulents. Okay, and so for my third piece here, I am going to make use of this container that had some cat treats in it. And I'm just gonna do the same thing. I cut it to size there with my X-Acto knife again, and I'm gonna wrap this one again with a piece of drop cloth and just fold it over, make a little neat seam on the back, tuck it under on the bottom, fold it over the top there, and when it was dry, I just decorated it a little bit with some jute twine and just a few dabs of hot glue. Really, you don't need that much hot glue because you get all those little spider web things, and then that's a pain to get those off. So I just use a little bit of hot glue, dots here and there, and just kind of finish it off, trim it. And I did the same thing with the pasta container, a little bit of jute twine there. It also kind of hides the ridges there so it doesn't look so much like a little plastic container that I got some pasta in. Trying to disguise my trash to treasure here. And I think the drop cloth gives it a really nice rustic farmhouse look. The material is not perfect by any means, but I think that's just kind of nice, adds to the style that it just has, you know, some natural flaws. And so for the ends of this cylinder piece here, this chrysolite container, I cut 2 ovals made of that same drop cloth. Again, just glued them in place to kind of hide the seams there and all that fabric that was kind of tucked under there, and did the same thing, wrapped it around. I used more twine on the one side because the side that had the lid was larger, so I just used a little bit more twine, so it just kind of evened it out. Okay, and so just to give it some height for this little tiered planter, I used 2 bottle caps. One was from a water bottle and one was from some other bottle, I think. And then I'm just filling it in. I filled the container about halfway with some soil, and I made sure that the succulents were pretty dried out. I find that's easier to separate them as opposed to dealing with a lot of soil that's kind of muddy or wet. I let them dry out, and then I can just separate them, take off most of that soil there, and just manipulate them, put them in any angles that I like. I like them kind of falling over the edge of the container. I think when they break the edge of the container there, it looks kind of interesting and more natural. And so I just picked a nice kind of color combo here. I wanted a little contrast between the different colors that these succulents come in. And for this one, yep, I just kind of poke them in there, and I like them just sort of squished in there so that they just have a lot of interest there. And so I like the height difference. The florets really look pretty next to each other. And yeah, I'm just kind of poking them in there. And I think these planters will probably look good for about 3 or 4 months. I like succulents, but I don't think that, I think they're a great replacement for fresh flowers because they last so much longer, but they are not, they're not for forever, not necessarily forever. I think they really only look good for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, and then I take them out and maybe do something else with them. Okay, and so here's my last little container here, and I think I used about 4 pieces in this one, and I like that. I like that one. I think that little small piece looked, that little cat treat container made a really nice little arrangement here. And then to top all of them off, I'm using a little bit of white gravel just to hide the dirt. Oh, and I made use of my little handy dandy paintbrush there just to dust off the soil that kind of got all over the place, but cleaned up really nicely. And then I'm watering again with my little, those little water bottles with the spigots that are bent there. That makes such a great little device so that you can water in small containers. Yeah, and so I think these little succulent gardens are gonna look really pretty in my kitchen. I have a little shelf next to my sink where they get some natural light, and I think they're gonna make a nice little combo of 3 different planters there that I'll have out for the spring and into the summer. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks to our hosts for hosting this channel. Thanks, Kat, and thanks, Casey, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.